Hello and welcome back. In this blackexcellist presentation, we will highlight Octavia Butler, a science fiction writer and literary genius.
Welcome to blackexcellist.com, the site where we share Black excellence, opulence, and affluence. Our mission is to inspire you as we enlighten you.
The impact of Octavia Butler's life and work has paved the way for African American female writers, especially those in the science fiction genre. Her work can be appreciated even more now with the astonishing political climate of this presidential election year, and just the overall strange phenomenon that we call 2020. I think we can all agree that current events have been akin to a weird science fiction book. Nonetheless, we would like to take a moment to remember Octavia E. Butler, widely regarded as the foremost Black woman in sci-fi literature. Butler is also the first science fiction writer to win a prestigious MacArthur Foundation fellowship and multiple prestigious writing awards that have made her name memorable around the world. Despite many obstacles she faced along the way, Octavia Butler's career thrived, and she became one of America's best-selling authors to date. In this blackexcellist presentation, we will be featuring Octavia Butler, the mother of Afrofuturism. So without further ado, let's get started. Number 1. Octavia Estelle Butler was born on June 22, 1947, in Pasadena, California. Octavia was the only child of Octavia Margaret Guy, a housemaid, and Laurice James Butler, a shoeshineman. Octavia was born into a small, impoverished family and was raised primarily by two of her biggest influences after her father died when she was only 7. Her mother and grandmother reared her in a strict Baptist environment and always wanted the best for her education-wise. Although Pasadena was considered a racially integrated community, Octavia and her mother experienced racial segregation throughout her childhood. Whenever she accompanied her mother to her cleaning work, they had to enter their white clients' houses through back doors. Furthermore, she eyewitnessed her mother being verbally abused and treated poorly by her employers. As a child, Butler was awkwardly shy and had difficulty socializing with other children. She was also diagnosed with dyslexia, which meant she had challenges with schoolwork, and several school bullies targeted her for her disability. The constant torment and abuse affected Octavia's self-esteem and confidence negatively, as she saw herself as ugly, stupid, clumsy, and socially hopeless. As a result, she frequently passed the time reading at the Pasadena Central Library. Number 2, Butler decided at the age of 10 that she would devote her life to writing. As Butler suffered more and more torment, she consequently spent more and more time at the library, studying and reading. She did not let her social and learning challenges deter her from developing a love for books. Butler began creating her own stories and would write reams of pages in her pink notebook. Hooked at first on fairy tales and horse stories, Butler quickly developed an interest in science fiction magazines, such as Amazing Stories, Galaxy Science Fiction, and the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. At the age of 10, Butler decided that she would dedicate her life to story writing. Butler begged her mother to buy her a Remington typewriter, on which she typed her stories. Her mother, who herself was pulled out of school in elementary school, wanted her daughter to have the education that she was denied. Butler's mother would further ignite her daughter's passion for reading and writing by giving her many books that she would pick up from the library or found thrown out by her employers. This encouragement for Butler to read led to what she refers to as a positive obsession for science fiction writing. At the age of 12 in 1954, she watched the film Devil Girl from Mars on the television and was convinced that she could write an even better story. That was when she drafted what would later become the basis of her 5-part Patternist series. Happily ignorant of the obstacles that a young Black female writer could encounter, Butler became unsure of herself for the first time at the age of 13, when her well-intentioned aunt said, "Honey, Negroes can't be writers." But Butler persevered and was never discouraged in her ambition and desire to publish a story, and even asked her junior high school science teacher to type the first manuscript she submitted to a science fiction magazine. Number 3, Butler graduated from Pasadena City College with an Associate of Arts degree. As a 6-foot, shy, dyslexic student who faced both an immense amount of ridicule from peers and discrimination from teachers, Butler would pursue higher education with much zeal and determination. Despite all of her childhood obstacles, Butler attended and graduated from John Muir High School in 1965. After graduation, she worked during the day and attended Pasadena City College at night. In her first year at PCC, Butler won a college-wide short story contest and earned a $15 prize, which was her first income as a writer. Butler eventually graduated in 1968 from Pasadena City College with an Associate of Arts degree with a focus in history. She also further studied science fiction writing at the Clarion Fiction Writers Workshop. Although Butler's mother desired that she take up a secretarial job in order to earn a steady income, Butler continued to work at temporary jobs so she could get up early in the morning to write. To keep herself financially afloat while she pursued her dreams of writing science fiction, Butler also held many small, slow-wage jobs, such as a warehouse worker and a dishwasher. Eventually, Butler enrolled at California State University, Los Angeles, but switched to taking writing courses through UCLA Extension. Number 4. Butler published her first science fiction novel in 1976. Butler finally accomplished what she set out to do and published her first science fiction novel, Pattern Master, the first installation of the Patternist series that also included Mind of My Mind in 1977 and Survivor in 1978. During the 5-year project, Butler added 2 additional books that completed the series with Wild Seed, published in 1980, and Clay's Ark in 1984. Chronologically, the series starts with the 4th novel published, Wild Seed. The Patternist series is a 4-novel collection about a group of people with telepathic powers who were ruled by a 4,000-year-old immortal African called Doro. Set in the 17th and 18th centuries, the story involves the relationship between Doro, who survives by transferring his consciousness from one body to another, and another immortal, Nyanwu, a shapeshifter with perfect control over her body. With the success of the series, Butler's writing career began to take off, and her rise to prominence was energized with her short story, Speech Sounds. Her literary work won the Hugo Award for Short Story, and a year later her novelette, Bloodchild, won the Hugo Award, the Locus Award, and the Science Fiction Chronicle Reader Award for Best Novelette. Following the release of Survivor in 1978, Butler was finally able to focus solely on her craft and devote more time researching upcoming projects. Butler was starting to earn money and awards for her work and felt that she was finally reaping the financial benefits and notoriety that many felt her writings deserved. Number 5. Butler's masterpiece, Kindred, faced the horrors of slavery and America's racism. Butler took a break from her Patternist series in 1979 to research and write her widely popular novel, Kindred. This sci-fi novel became her career breakthrough. The book is the first-person account of a young African-American woman writer, Dana, who finds herself being shunted in time between her Los Angeles, California home in 1976 and a pre-Civil War Maryland plantation. There she meets her ancestors, a proud black free woman and a white planter who has forced her into slavery and concubinage. As Dana's stays in the past become longer, the young woman becomes intimately entangled with the plantation community. She makes hard choices to survive slavery and to ensure her return to her own time. Through the 2 interracial couples who form the emotional core of the story, the novel also explores the intersection of power, gender, and race issues, and speculates on the prospects of future egalitarianism. In large part, Kindred evolved out of childhood and early adulthood experiences around racism. First, there are influences from Butler's mother's bitter experience as an African-American cleaner, and the pain and fear that Black people have had to live through in order to endure. Second, Butler drew inspiration from her time in college, and she vividly remembered when a member of the Black Power movement loudly criticized previous generations of African Americans for their subservience to whites. Many of the themes from Kindred revolved around the discrimination that African Americans faced in the past, as well as the present. Butler wanted to honor our ancestors while showing that African Americans who survived slavery are strong and resilient. Kindred reveals the repressed trauma that slavery caused in America's collective memory of history and the damage that has been done in America's attempt to forget its dark past. Number 6. Butler's next series focused on saving humanity in a post-apocalyptic world. Other significant series published by Butler includes her Xenogenesis trilogy and the Parable series. Both series are about sustaining humanity in post-apocalyptic worlds. The Xenogenesis trilogy is a science fiction story of how humanity was saved by an alien species from the war it waged on itself. The aliens are nothing like humans, and while they revere life, they believe that to let humans alone to their own devices is equivalent to allowing them to destroy themselves again. The story focuses on the human resistors who want their freedom returned regardless of the consequences, while they are forced to coexist with the other species to survive. As of 2000, the 3 volumes of this science fiction series is published under the title Lilith's Brood. The Parable series offers a more realistic destruction of humanity. The Parable series takes place in a futuristic post-apocalyptic America where water price has exceeded fuel prices and anarchy has risen. The people of the book live in a world that is full of dangers from human destruction and violence. In this series, Butler uses religion Earthseed as a means to try and restore humanity in this chaotic world. The religion emphasizes the inevitability of change and the consequent need to be adaptable and flexible in response to change. The series contains many modern-day political parallels that Butler purposefully created to portray messages about the dysfunctional society of the present and how these dysfunctions could affect the future. The Parable series continues with the sequel, Parable of the Talents, which follows the journey of Lauren and Earthseed through Lauren's daughter Larkin. The novel follows Earthseed onto a new plant, where the 3rd installment of the series, Parable of the Trickster, takes place. The 3rd book was never completed due to writer's block, and Butler decided to focus her creativity elsewhere by working on other stories. Number 7, Butler was able to overcome writer's block to publish more work in the 2000s. After several years of having writer's block, Butler published the short stories Amnesty 2003 and The Book of Martha 2003, and her second standalone novel Fledging 2005. Both short stories focus on how impossible conditions force an ordinary woman to make a distressing choice. In Amnesty, an alien abductee recounts her painful abuse at the hand of the unwitting aliens, and upon her release by humans, and explains why she chose to work as a translator for the aliens now that the Earth's economy is in a deep depression. In the Book of Martha, God asks a middle-aged African-American novelist to make one important change to fix humanity's destructive ways. These 2 stories were added to the 2005 edition of Bloodchild and Other Stories. Number 8, Butler warned us of the Make America Great Again presidential candidate. It's almost like Octavia Butler had the ability to peer into the future, and this is eerily demonstrated in her 10th novel, Parable of the Sower, which was published in 1993. The story features a fascist presidential candidate who rises to power by promising to make America great again. The comparisons to Donald Trump and the current climate we are in is a bit scary. In this novel, global warming has brought drought and rising seawater. The middle class and working poor live in gated neighborhoods where they fend off the homeless with guns and walls. Fresh water is scarce and is as valuable as money. Pharmaceutical companies have created smart drugs, which boost mental performance. Fires are common. The oppression of women has become extreme. Very few people trust the police. Public schools are being privatized, as are whole towns. News comes in the form of news bullets, which purport to tell us all we need to know in flashy pictures and quick, witty verbal 1-2 punches, much like a tweet or better yet, a meme. People are addicted not only to designer drugs, but also to dream masks, which generate virtual fantasies as guided dreams, allowing wearers to submerge themselves in simpler, happier lives. Yeah, y'all, it gets kinda deep. And in this chaotic atmosphere, a presidential candidate stokes fear and promotes violence. And when his supporters form mobs and burn people to death, he condemns their violence in such mild language that his people are free to hear what they want to hear. He accuses, without grounds, whole groups of people of being criminals and drug dealers. how much of this rhetoric he actually believes and how much he spouts, just because he knows the value of dividing in order to conquer and to rule, is at once debatable and increasingly beside the point, as he strives to return the country to a simpler bygone era that never actually existed. Parable of the Sower unfolds through the journal entries of its protagonist, a 15-year-old black girl named Lauren Oya Olamina, who lives with her family in one of the walled neighborhoods. People have changed the climate of the world, she observes. Now they're waiting for the old days to come back. Number 9, Butler made her transition on February 24, 2006, at the age of 58. In 1999, Butler left her native California and moved north to Seattle, Washington. She was a perfectionist with her work and spent several years grappling with writer's block. Her efforts were hampered by her ill health and the medication she took. And although writing started to become a significant challenge in her later years due to her ill health, she managed to publish the novel in Fledging. Set on the West Coast, this coming-of-age novel explores the culture of a vampire community living in mutualistic symbiosis with humans through a young female hybrid vampire. However, this would be Butler's final novel. On February 24, 2006, at the age of 58, Butler passed away at her Seattle home. With her death, the literary world lost one of its greatest storytellers. She is fondly remembered as a writer of stories that blurred the lines of distinction between reality and fantasy. When she began reading science fiction at a young age, Butler became disenchanted by the genre's unimaginative portrayal of ethnicity and class, as well as by its lack of noteworthy female protagonists. Thus, she dedicated her life and writing career to bridging that gap. Number 10. Butler's legacy helped lay the foundation for the Afrofuturism movement. Besides receiving many notable awards for her stellar novels, many of her works have been adapted by artists who desired to bring her stories to life. In 2017, a graphic novel adaptation of Kindred was published by Abrams Comics Arts. Her sci-fi classic Dawn, the first book in the Lilith's Brood trilogy, is currently being adapted for television by producer Ava DuVernay. In commemoration of her laudable contribution to the literary world, the renowned, prolific African-American author has been honored posthumously in many ways. She was inducted by the Science Fiction Hall of Fame in 2010. Recently, in March 2019, Butler's alma mater, Pasadena City College, announced the Octavia E. Butler Memorial Scholarship for students enrolled in the Pathways program and committed to transfer to four-year institutions. Undoubtedly, the writer's name will always be inextricably tied to science fiction, but it is now finding new life in Afrofuturism, or the Black Futurist movement. The newish term and movement refer to a long-standing subgenre that imagines a future where Black and brown people and cultures are centered. Afrofuturism is a type of cultural aesthetic that explores the intersection of African culture with technology and futurism. And if you need an example, we need to look no further than the movie Black Panther. Sometimes Afrofuturist work features a resurgence of ancestral knowledge. Other times, it's woven with the high-tech trappings of mainstream sci-fi. Often, Afrofuturists blend the two, but it does so in a way that highlights the things that are needed in order to move us from the struggles that persist from the past to the engagement in overcoming that trauma in the present. In essence, this is the embodiment of Octavia Butler's full body of work and her outstanding legacy in the arena of literature.
We appreciate the fact that you stayed with us until the end. Thank you for spending time with us, and don't forget to like this video. Also, make sure you subscribe so that you never miss a video. Bye for now. We will see you tomorrow.